And we're back.
We're back, everybody. Welcome back to the only podcast on the entirety of the internet that knows that when it takes a 2-week break, it's going to be at the worst possible time in all of American political history.
Yeah, that's right. Taking a 2-week break. And for you, again, this is just yet another episode. But yeah, we've been out of town, and Patrick's been officiating weddings.
I did. I officiated a wedding. This is my third time officiating a wedding. I have married 6 of my friends now.
6 of your friends.
That sounds bad now that I hear myself say that out loud. Actually.
Which is why we are doctors.
But not doctors.
And that's, that's why we're that kind of doctors, not those kind of doctors, and definitely not theological doctors.
Oh, no, certainly not. I have no idea about the nature of God, and I cannot tell you how many angels dance on the head of a pin.
Oh, well, you know what? That's a good trivia question. Leave a comment. Leave a comment and like and subscribe.
Let us know. What's the over/under on angel pinheads? Basically,
angel dancing on a pinhead. Angel dancing on a pinhead.
Dancing angel pinheads. That's the phraseology I'm going to work with there.
Yeah. So as you said, you had you were doing a wedding this weekend of your friends. We'll leave their names out of this because they probably don't need. From our throngs of fans, the hate mail. But,
exactly.
But did you enjoy yourself? Did you have a good time?
I had a really good time. Chris, I want to tell you very quickly about how good of a time I had.
Okay.
There was dancing at the wedding, and I danced. And how well did I dance, Chris? I danced very well. And how much did I dance? Very well. I did. Ooh, I'm going to toot my own horn at this. I think I moved quite well for a man of my age and size. So, I feel like, once you calibrate for those things, I feel like I was positively light on my feet.
Center of gravity and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So,
that's good.
It was good stuff. Yeah.
That's why people dance. They dance because they're happy, and you brought some happiness to your friends' lives, which is always good.
And indeed, they have brought happiness to mine. So hooray all around. So,
Huzzahs all around. And we unfortunately go from the happiness and levity of that to current events.
Yeah, joy was never going to last in this particular timeline, was it, Chris?
No, it's like that scene in Harry Potter where they're the wedding of Fleur and the other Weasley, and everyone's having a good time, and the Ministry of Magic falls.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because, that's the thing. My Irish peasant ancestry, basically, I believe, had a very strong sense, which is this, that any joy must be immediately balanced by some horrible sorrow somewhere. And if you've been paying attention to American politics, I must have had a really good time at my wedding.
Yes.
Or my friend's wedding. So, yes.
Yes, at your friend's wedding, yes. Because since we were last on, a few things haven't happened. Now, I believe, if you recall, a few episodes back, we talked about a young upstart named Elon Musk.
Oh, I think I've heard that name before a few times.
Yeah, that's right. And Elon Musk had decided that... he wasn't a fan of the administration anymore, the MAGA Trump administration. And
that is true.
And in being unhappy with that administration, he started tweeting out a bunch of different things on his platform that he bought specifically for free speech of fascists. The thing that he tweeted out that got the most attention was that Trump is in the Epstein files. That's why they haven't been released. Have a good night or day.
Oh, that's right. I remember in June he did say that.
He did say that, yes.
I'm going to be brutally honest with you, Chris. At the time, I thought that this was... Well, no, I'm not going to say it was a low blow. It's not a low blow.
No.
But I did figure it was the kind of thing that was going to be a desperate and ultimately doomed attempt to try to turn Donald Trump's base against him. I felt that this was something that he was just sort of doing out of desperation, and that it ultimately wouldn't go anywhere. And I haven't been paying any attention. So how did my prediction work out, Chris?
Your prediction failed miserably.
Oh, dear.
in a twist, though, but it didn't fail miserably in the way that you said. Musk's tweet didn't it got the hairs running, as they say over here. It got the ball rolling down the hill, but you still had the White House basically able to side and juke and jive and get around it.
Yeah.
However, the story just wasn't going away. And eventually, the White House decided to kill the story. They just declared unilaterally that there is no Epstein client list. The Epstein debate is now over.
Now, Chris, When you say that the White House announced unilaterally that there is no Epstein client list, right?
That's right.
Are we referring to the Epstein client list that Pam Bondi back in February referred to on national television as being on her desk for her to review by the orders of the president?
The very same. Yes. Obviously, Pam Bondi, Attorney General, hack in chief, decided that she told the MAGA base on Fox News. I mean, there's no higher peak of the MAGA conspiracy theory than Fox News. Now, there are depths that you can go to: Newsmax, OAN, Lindell's network, and it keeps on going down until you get to the lizard people. But
exactly.
She went on Fox News and she said, the files are on my desk. We're looking through them right now. And we're going to, we're just going to go through that whole thing. And we're going to, and we're going to do that. And it's going to be, make America great. And then it's like, She got called out.
It's kind of amazing. Like, you have to wonder, what the bleep was she thinking?
What the bleep was she thinking?
Indeed, I'm going to bleep myself because I know we got to bleep that. Like, what I was going to say, I know you think I was going to say fuck, but no, I was going to say something so much worse than that. But
okay.
Seriously, what could possibly have been the thought process of, let's say for the sake of argument, that she is telling the truth now.
Yeah.
And that there is no Epstein client list. Yeah. And when she was asked specifically about that client list on Fox News, that she then decided to say that there is one and she's reviewing it when she knew that there wasn't one and that there was nothing to review. Yeah. So if what she's saying now is in fact the case,
that's right,
then either she has the reading comprehension of a box turtle or she decided to just make some stuff up on national television.
Yeah, this is the problem. So what we're getting at here, people, is that for the past decade at the very least, the core of the MAGA movement, which does build itself in conspiracy theory, is that the Democrats and liberals and anyone but Donald Trump is part of a dangerous secret sexual cabal that feeds on the blood of children, that engages in the most heinous crimes that you could think of, right? And they do this regularly, and the quote unquote deep state protects them from any kind of prosecution. That is that is the core of the MAGA movement. It has nothing to do with with tax policy. That's Republicans. They jumped on board with this, and they have got this huge kind of core of people who, broke into what was that, Atomic? So what's the pizza place?
Oh, Comet Pizza.
Comet Pizza. The dude breaks into Comet Pizza, looking for the basement of Comet Pizza, looking for the children in the basement where there was no basement there.
Here's the thing. I am going to bring this up just quickly because I swear to God, life is cribbing from the movies. And which movie is it?
I don't know.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh, come on. All right. You got to substantiate your claim.
All right. I'm glad you asked me to do that. In the 1980s, Pee Wee Herman was a big deal.
He was.
Fact, I know, right?
I have a Cowboy Curtis. I still have my Cowboy Curtis.
And who played Cowboy Curtis, Chris?
Lawrence Fishburne.
That's right. Your man from The Matrix was absolutely on Pee Wee Herman. Hell yes. Sometimes the universe does, in fact, bring us joy. Try to remember that, people.
Yes.
But back in the 80s, Pee Wee Herman had a movie, Pee Wee's Big Adventure, where someone steals his beloved bicycle and a phony charlatan fortune teller tells him that he'll find it in the basement of the Alamo.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And so he travels to the Alamo, and he is on the tour at the Alamo, and he asks, "Excuse me, where's the basement?" And thank you. I'm very proud of that voice. And then immediately everyone starts laughing at him for believing that there's a basement to the Alamo because there is no basement to the Alamo. It's like that, but Pee Wee Herman had a machine gun.
Exactly.
Like, I swear, okay, sorry. I just had to get that off my chest because that is just one of those things.
It is, and that is an interesting coincidence. But what I'm saying here is that the MAGA movement has been motivated by this more than almost anything else. I mean, the MAGA movement has all sorts of people in it. People from the very lightest of MAGA folk who, probably don't want to see good illegal immigrants deported, to the very depths of MAGA folk who are the kind of guys who are going to run you over with your car and, break into Comet Pizza. Yep. The almost uniting figure in this is Jeffrey Epstein, and Jeffrey Epstein, who was a convicted massive child sex trafficker.
Well, okay, now we need to be somewhat careful here, right?
Yeah.
Because
was he convicted or was he just in jail?
Well, that's the thing. He was in jail. He was awaiting trial most recently when he, according to the official story, and I'm going to use the YouTube word for this, unalived himself.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, exactly.
He's no longer with us.
That said, he did back in, I think, 2006. He was also investigated for the exact same crimes he was investigated for later on when he, basically, like the local police department investigated claims that he was, raping children like Jeffrey Epstein did. And they were looking into it. And apparently the prosecutor in Florida, and it's important to remember that the Attorney General of Florida at the time this was going down was a certain, that's right, Pam Bondi.
Pam Bondi.
Yeah,
wow.
So Attorney General of the state of Florida at the time.
Yeah. So that's interesting as well.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So what happens is the prosecutors decide, we don't want to bring all of the charges here. We do not want to bring the most serious charges here. In fact, we don't want to bring any charges really, but the local police don't let it go. So eventually the prosecutor decides, instead of just charging him, which it is within the prosecutor's power to do, Chris.
Yeah.
Instead, the prosecutor goes to a grand jury. Now, this is another way to bring charges, and prosecutors are famously able to get grand juries, which are generally much larger than what are called petty juries. That's the normal 12-person jury you would think on a criminal trial. Grand juries, their job is not to decide facts. Their job is simply to say, is there enough evidence to say that there's a reasonable suspicion that someone has committed a crime? In other words, this is a very basic check against prosecutorial misconduct, a very basic check, just to make sure that the prosecution actually has a case that they could conceivably bring. It has nothing to do with whether or not that case is going to stand up in a court of law. It's just to say, do they even have something they can claim, right? In fact, there's a very famous phrase, a good prosecutor can get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like the level of situation we're talking here. What's interesting is when they go to the grand jury, the prosecutor does not bring the 14 or so different witnesses that had been identified by the police, people who had been underage, who had been sexually assaulted and abused and raped by Jeffrey Epstein. Instead, they bring two of them. Just two. And then apparently the prosecutor spends the grand jury attacking their own witnesses.
Wow.
Yeah, like basically spending the time like trying to poke holes in the witness's testimony. And so the end result is that when the grand jury does return its verdict on which charges it thinks can be brought before an actual court, they end up going with two misdemeanors.
Whoa, two misdemeanors. Wow.
Two misdemeanors. Oh, yeah. And then Jeffrey Epstein's attorneys are like, well, that's just too much for our dear boy Jeff. We simply can't have that. So they end up like basically bargaining it down, I think, to like a plea agreement. And that plea agreement does involve him being under house arrest, with work release so he can go to his cushy offices for 12 hours a day before going home to sleep in the prison that is a rich person prison. It is an extreme and just absolutely pitch perfect example of wealth buying immunity from criminal prosecution. Just a clear example of what you would think the MAGA movement, and in fact, most of us who are American citizens have always suspected, which is that, it's not a fair system, that there really is some deep corruption that goes on when it comes to how the law is applied, and it's not applied evenly. Fun story. Would you like to know who the prosecutor was who negotiated that?
Sure. Would love to hear that.
It's a fun guy named Alex Acosta.
Alex Acosta?
Yeah. Do you want to know where you've heard that name before?
I would like to know where I heard that name before.
He was the Secretary of Labor in the first Trump administration.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so they're like, how did he get the job?
Yeah, it's a good question, because what's he got to do with the Secretary of Labor? Interestingly, it should be noted, by the way, that Secretary of Labor, the Department of Labor, they're one of the people who deal with, trafficking of people.
Interesting.
Yeah. So fun.
So when it came to him being in jail, I just want to make sure I get this right. He was in jail for what? Because when he finally was in jail, 2017 or 18?
All right, 2017. So he is in jail. He is awaiting his day in court. He is awaiting the prosecution, and that prosecution is going to be for the full run of all the horrors, everything that we know that he did. So and that actually is interesting because, of course, that prosecution is happening under the first Trump administration. Now, when it became clear just how bad that initial plea deal had been, and by the way, it should be noted that first plea deal that he made back in 2006, 2007, this involved keeping that plea deal secret for a year.
Yeah.
And lying to the victims about whether or not a plea deal had been reached or whether any prosecution was going forward.
Wow.
For the entire year, they kept saying, the investigation is ongoing. We'll get back to you as soon as we know, when we can bring charges. Meanwhile, they'd already agreed 2 misdemeanors, you plead guilty, slap on the wrist, we keep it secret. And you
get to hang out all day. You get 12 hours a day outside of jail. You have to basically sleep at jail. So the victims get nothing, and he got everything.
Yes.
And so,
So when this became once again in the news, Alex Acosta very much had to resign, because of making the deal of the century with Jeffrey Epstein for literally no purpose I could possibly imagine.
He was Secretary of Labor, but I'm sure that's just a coincidence, of course.
Just one of those weird little things that seems to happen when Trump is in
power.
Things
that make you go,
And while we're on the topic of things that make you go, Chris, can we talk just a little bit about what happened when Jeffrey Epstein was in jail awaiting trial during the first Trump administration?
Sure. You want me to elucidate as what happened?
I mean, if you would give us the general backgrounds, I would be much in your debt.
Oh, the general backgrounds of what happened? I'm not over everything that happened. Basically, he was put in jail waiting for trial, and then he stopped living.
He did indeed.
He stopped living, and it is said that he stopped himself living.
That is, in fact, what the administration claims happened. Yes.
So, and again, getting back to the original point here, when Epstein was finally arrested, put into jail, and the fervor, because it was just at the beginning of the first Trump administration, God help us, it was only the first one. The MAGA folk and those kind of people were absolutely thrilled that this dangerous pedophile, was going to go and get justice and actually, get and actually be, put on trial. And more importantly, this guy, Jeffrey Epstein, was a financier. So his real job was being a money mover, money manager, or whatever. He basically dealt with money, in which meant that he dealt with incredibly rich people and incredibly powerful people.
Yes.
And
there is some suspicion, since you happen to bring it up, that one of the reasons why he was able to get such insanely preferential treatment back in 2006, 2007, one of the reasons why he was able to immediately go back to his predatory behavior, one of the reasons why he was able to stay out of jail for so long, is precisely because of those connections with very powerful and influential and wealthy people. And I think MAGA was particularly excited because some of those people were people like Courtney Love. Some of those people were people like Stephen Hawking. But also Bill Clinton was absolutely one of the people who was understood to have been, someone who traveled on what is known as, affectionately, the Lolita Express, because Jeffrey Epstein was not subtle.
And of course, we need to talk about, just to be clear here, there was what another massive piece of evidence that came out that everybody kind of knows about is the list of people that flew on Jeffrey Epstein's plane. There's also like his contact list, for lack of a better term, and he knew everyone. He had everybody's number. I mean, if any famous person, any serious mover in the world who's probably still moving today, making moves and making things happen. He had their number. He had several numbers for them. And a lot of people also, for whatever reason, traveled on his plane. Now, traveling on the plane does not equate with, the crime. Right?
Precisely. Absolutely.
Because a person who wound up on that plane a lot, apparently, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, was Donald Trump.
Oh, no, that's absolutely true now that you bring it up. He was, and in fact, well, we'll get into that later. At the moment, we have a very important point to make, which is just because you were traveling on the Lolita Express to Jeffrey Epstein's private island does not necessarily mean that you were engaged in the rape of minors. Like it's not evidence for that. It's not evidence against it, but it's also not evidence for it.
Yeah, it's not a clear cut. There's not a straight line between the two of them. So we have this information that was going to come out. We have all this stuff that was going to come out publicly in the case. And then kind of overnight, people are told this guy is gone. And now it's, and then of course the conspiracy theories, the MAGA movement went into hyperdrive because they thought that Hillary Clinton, Steven Spielberg, every single big left-wing star, Tom
personally
Hanks,
crept in there and garroted Jeffrey Epstein in order to silence him because the lizard people told them to. I'm pretty sure that was one of the conspiracy theories.
And I'm pretty sure this is where we get the idea of the client list as well. So the idea that there is some document that has all of the people, and there's also rumor that there are videotapes, and there's rumor upon rumor upon rumor upon rumor. And so we're leaving 2017-18 now, and we're leaving that time period. His partner, after the end of the at the very end of Trump's first term, Ghislaine Maxwell, who's from the UK, she gets nabbed, and over a period of time, she gets puts on trial. Basically being the facilitator to getting people onto the island and getting people locked into slavery.
Very much so.
And so she's currently in jail, still alive.
She is in prison. She is a convicted felon.
She's a convicted felon in prison.
Interestingly enough, she is currently appealing her sentence, Chris. She is, in fact, appealing her conviction. And this is an interesting story, and I think it's worth taking a few moments to talk about. So you may be wondering, well, okay, on what basis is she appealing her conviction? Like, is there some new evidence that has arisen that shows that her conviction is unsafe? Some evidence that the prosecutors failed to turn over to the defense that would have tended to exonerate her? And no. Now, the basis of her appeal is this. In that original sweetheart deal in 2006-2007 that Jeffrey Epstein got, one of the other terms was that no other person would be prosecuted for the crimes that Jeffrey Epstein was confessing to. That no other person, mentioned or unmentioned, would ever be prosecuted for those crimes.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, indeed. Now, you may be asking yourself, Chris, is this is this normal?
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Bill Cosby's deal.
Do tell.
Remember Bill Cosby? Bill Cosby.
I remember that he was another example of an incredibly famous man who was incredibly well protected, who committed horrible sexual crimes over many, many years. And he eventually,
basically, he was busted because he gave testimony and basically incriminated himself in one of these testimonies. But the deal he got from the government, the state government, I don't remember which state it was, maybe Pennsylvania, maybe New York, maybe somewhere.
We'll have to look into that.
Yeah. But the deal was that I'm going to tell you the truth about what I did to this particular person. I think he drugged their drink or something. I think that's what he liked to do. God, it sucks to talk about Bill Cosby in this way.
It really does.
But the whole point was that he could say it, and that it would never come to light again. And then more people came forward, and they used that testimony to corroborate other people. But it was a breach of the original agreement. So Cosby then appealed his conviction and got away with it.
Right. And well, that's the thing, because the claim was, if I remember correctly, that evidence should never have been given to the jury in the first place. Therefore, if the jury based their conviction on that evidence, and that makes the conviction unsafe. I mean, I would need to read more into that case to read exactly what that meant. But the end result is that he did get out of it. which is a bit of an indictment of either the prosecutors for screwing that up so badly, or the system itself for allowing such a deal to be struck in the first place. I think in the case of Epstein, this goes so far beyond even that, because here we're talking not just about saying, all right, well, you give evidence here and we agree that you'll get immunity going forward for some other thing because you're confessing to something really important, or you're giving information on somebody else and that's really important. We're all familiar with the idea of getting someone to turn state's evidence and granting qualified immunity or total immunity. We're aware of this as a thing. But what's going on with the Epstein agreement is that they're offering immunity to people who are not party to the agreement.
Yeah.
To people who have not even been named as of yet. So basically, it's sort of saying, if you turn yourself in for the robbery that you committed, I agree I will not prosecute any of the people who robbed the bank with you.
Well, that's just it.
Right. And that's nuts. That's the opposite of,
I find that to be so crazy as well, to give somebody a deal that says, right, we're barely going to prosecute you, but we refuse to prosecute anyone else who might have happened to be there that we don't know about yet. It gives a blanket immunity to everybody in the room.
Yeah.
Right? So if anybody else gets scooped up there, and I'm gonna point this out, not for nothing. There was also another pretty infamous resident of Florida who was there, who currently lived there at the time as well, in a place called Mar-a-Lago.
Well, that's true, actually. That's funny. What was his name again, Chris?
Donald John Trump.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, that name cropped up again in connection with Jeffrey Epstein. How strange.
How strange. I mean, it is strange. And we'll get back to that in a second.
Yeah. But we'll come back to that.
We'll come back to that in a second. But here we are. Sorry. We're just keeping the timeline moving forward.
Absolutely. Let's keep going with it. Yeah.
So we are here now moving towards so now we're in the middle of the Biden administration. And again, the main refrain from people like small names, Dan Bongino, Dan Bongino, current deputy director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Indeed. Kash Patel, director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
J.D. Vance, vice president of the United States.
Pam Bondi, attorney general.
Pam Bondi, current attorney. This is all before they got their positions. This is when they were trying to get people to vote for Trump. The first thing they said when they would go on podcasts, much more popular than this one, they'd say, the podcaster is usually some bro who'd be like, so, we got to, what are we doing about the Epstein stuff? You go to Joe Rogan, what's going on with that Epstein stuff, man? And then each one of these guys would be like, we got to release the list. We got to release the list. We got to get it out there, man. We got to get that list out there.
JD Vance said we have to release the Epstein list. It's really important.
Really, really important. It's really important. I put an extra really in there. I'm sorry that I misquoted the vice president of the United States. But he's like, it's really, really important. I'm sorry. I did it again. I'm horrible. I'm terrible. It's really important that we get it out there. It's really important that everybody basically said the same thing. They had the same line. It was a unifying call between 2020 and 2024. Release the Epstein files, release the Epstein client list. And they said that they were going to do that if they won. So in order to get this information about this dangerous cabal of only left-wing people, you have to vote for us. And now there was something else that I saw. I don't know how long ago it was. A post from 4chan, which is the fascist messaging board. There was a post, and I don't know what year it's from. It may not have even been real, but it seems like it is.
Okay.
And it said, Donald Trump may have, and I'm going to paraphrase a lot of this, Donald Trump hung out with Epstein not because he was like him, but because he wanted to save the children, because he knew that these people are so bad that he had to embed himself with them, but not be one of them, not be
right. Not he had to go
mutated by them. He had to go undercover. He was not to be transformed by them, but to look in their world, gather the information, and come back out stronger and with the capacity to put them all away. That is what this post said.
That makes perfect sense. That's why you are best friends with someone for 15 years, is to go deep cover on them, to play the long game, and that's why you do things like throw a party for young women where the only guest is Jeffrey Epstein.
The only guest
is Jeffrey Epstein. And that's another thing Donald Trump did. So
it's important to note here that Michael Wolff, who has written several books about Trump and the Trump administration, also happened to interview Epstein, I think in 2015.
Yes, he did, didn't he?
Yeah, and this all came out during the middle of the in the middle of the Biden administration.
Yeah.
And what he said, he has a recording of Epstein saying, Donald Trump we are best friends. And we've been best friends for like 10 years or even longer than that.
Oh, 15 years.
15 years. Yeah. We've been best friends for 15 years. And, and then, there's all these videos like from NBC News of Donald Trump and Epstein having really good times at party and chumming around with each other.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Epstein introduced Melania to Donald.
Oh, Chris, it's so much worse than that.
It's my bad.
Would you like to know what apparently the first time Donald Trump and Melania did the dirty deed,
very dirty,
was on Jeffrey Epstein's plane?
Yeah, I heard that.
So that's
I heard that like 2 days ago, and I'm like, oh, like no.
What is happening here? Like,
why do we know this? Why is this public information now?
This is not a thing. Oh God! And yet it actually is. It's within the bounds of conversation. We find ourselves in a situation where the fact that Donald banged Melania on the Lolita Express, apparently, maybe it's not the Lolita Express, maybe it's another plane, maybe Epstein had another plane. I don't know, but like that's something that actually does color our understanding of events
and how they know each other.
Exactly.
And so taking us down the timeline even further, because what the hell? So it's now we're now into the election, and the MAGA movement is pushing for this, and we'll skip over the election, obviously, because we know what the outcome of that election was.
Yeah.
Right? Trump.
Yeah, a bit shit.
Trump wins.
Yeah.
But and immediately he does his birthright citizenship stuff, and he does his other things, and he starts releasing information into Martin Luther King, which I didn't really get that much traction outside of conspiracy theory circles, JFK, because you got to remember that, again, the people who are in line at these rallies when they are interviewed, a lot of them, they believe in aliens, they believe in chemtrails, they believe in chemtrails, they believe some of them are flat earthers, so, for them.
The thing is, if you believe one conspiracy theory, Chris, it's really easy to start believing other conspiracy theories, which is one of the reasons why those who study conspiracy theories point out that conspiracy theories are a really easy way to sort of suck people into anti-Semitism, because when you get right down to it, anti-Semitism is sort of the conspiracy theory, the idea that like there's a secret cabal that secretly runs everything. And a lot of people, for a lot of people, that's the Jews, and for David Icke, it's the lizard people.
It's the lizard people. Yeah. So I mean, and it's also really easy to get sucked into conspiracy theory because they're self-fulfilling, and it's easy for you to make an excuse why the conspiracy theory isn't fulfilling itself, and there's always something new in there, right? We'll get back to that in a second, because that has a lot to do with what's about to happen. So let's fast forward to basically today, or 2 weeks ago or a week ago. It's because there's a couple of political things in there, but what's important about what's happened now is that these people have now become the government, right? They've become the state. And so if I am, a conspiracy theorist, I'm a MAGA fan, I'm even just a regular MAGA fan, a light level of conspiracy theory, this is the big kahuna. This is the Hope Diamond. This is it. When this is released, Clinton's going to be hung from all the Clintons are going to be hung from a tree.
Exactly.
It's just going to be a mass reckoning, and then the country will be purer and more secure. And and then Elon Musk dropped his little tweet saying, "Oh, DJT's in it, so that's why you're not seeing it. Bye."
Yeah.
And now what they should have done, if you are, the conspiracy theorists, they said, screw it, released a list. And the answer of the executive of the MAGA-led administration of Donald Trump, of Pam Bondi, of Kash Patel, of Dan Bongino, and the rest of them, all the commentators was, it doesn't matter anymore. Shut your fucking mouth.
Yeah.
Shut your mouth.
Why are we still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? He's been dead for years.
He's been dead for years. Why are we still talking about him?
Like, and this is the thing, right? So you have Pam Bondi in February talking about how she's got the client list. She's ready. She's reviewing it now, ready to release it. They pull a stunt where they give a bunch of right-wing MAGA influencers, right, the Epstein Files, part 1. And they literally had part 1 on it, on the binders that they handed out.
Binders, yeah.
And those binders contained absolutely no information. No. Pissed off the MAGA influencers to no end because they all look like schmucks, probably because they're schmucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like they were doing everything they could to raise expectations for years on this thing. Donald Trump himself, when asked, will he release the Epstein files, said, yeah, probably.
Well, there's lots of fake stuff in there.
That's right. Yeah. So he was already, I don't know. I think the careful reader, the person who, views with a certain jaded eye and a willingness to consider critically the information before them may have noticed that he wasn't as interested in releasing the Epstein files as he was in releasing the JFK files. Very strange.
Yeah. So let's just, just give me 2 seconds here. This was all done in a Fox News interview, and where basically they're saying, what files are you going to release? And you're going to release the JFK files? Yeah. You're going to release MLK files? Yeah. You're going to release the Epstein files? Yeah. Well, and hang on. Well, not them, not so much. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we can, maybe not those, maybe not everything, because there's a lot of fake stuff out there. And that's that's not your first big, giant, huge red flag.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Because the thing is, right, like let's consider the options here, right? Let's say Donald Trump is 100% innocent, knew absolutely nothing about the actions of his friend of 15 years, Jeffrey Epstein, who he was friends with while Jeffrey Epstein was engaged in a pattern of, pedophilic behavior, a person with whom he partied quite often, with whom he, according to the accusations of some of Epstein's victims, was also acting incredibly creepy around him, who also, admitted to Howard Stern that he deliberately walked in on naked 15-year-olds when he was, heading up the Miss Teen USA pageant because, he could kind of get away with that kind of stuff because he was the owner. And of course, some of the girls who were there at the time and underage were like, yeah, we had to cover up immediately because we're like, there's a man here. That's not okay. That this guy, maybe he knew nothing about any of the crimes being committed.
That's true.
And if that's true, then why is he so squirrely about releasing the Epstein files? I mean, if there is an Epstein file at all, if there's anything that can be released, and he's completely innocent, he would want to release it immediately, right?
That's what we think. Now, so I think we've covered kind of the background to this pretty well. Let's take a short break, and we're going to talk about the politics of what comes next.
Oh, that's a really good topic, and I can't wait to get into it.
Because this is what I like to say before we go. It's been longer than 2 weeks. We'll explain what that means later. All right.
Exactly.
We'll be back in just a second. And we are back.
Welcome back, everybody. Have we got even more Epstein for you? Because apparently you can't get enough of it. And neither can the American populace. So,
well, you can't get any of that out of the White House right now because in this section, we're going to talk about the aftermath of not releasing the files and telling your base to shut the hell up. And that's it's really a big deal when your base is filled with gun-toting conspiracy theories.
They love being told to shut up and stop asking questions.
Yeah, shut up and learn your place.
Exactly.
It always works out well. So I think I'll start with this. At the break, I said it's been longer than 2 weeks. Now, Trump is notorious for always saying that he's got a plan or just give him 2 weeks because Trump understands the media. That's why, I don't like him, I don't think he has real good political skills, but he does understand how to shift the narrative.
Yeah. And if he has one superpower, it is absolutely that.
And he can shift the narrative usually by saying, I'll get back to you in 2 weeks. His entire first administration, remember his healthcare plan was coming in 2 weeks.
Yep. 2 weeks. 2 weeks from literally any point in time.
At any point in time, I'll get back to you in 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks would come and we would be talking about something else that he tweeted on Twitter that day, right? So we would just move on from it. The problem for the administration, for the MAGA administration, is that we are now beyond 2 weeks. This thing came out, I guess 2 weeks ago now. And and we're still talking about it, and this is the only thing we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, because this is the only thing that the entire American political system is talking about at this point. Like, it has so thoroughly overwhelmed the rest of political discourse. And the fact that it has done this is absolutely shocking, because you're right that Donald Trump, his modus operandi is precisely to distract, to throw out mud, to bury a scandal with another scandal and bury that scandal with another scandal, to constantly have things in motion. So there's never one thing that everyone's talking about all the time. So nothing really sticks. It never sinks in, and it never aggregates. Where it never becomes a situation where, well, gosh, he's had scandal after scandal after scandal after scandal.
That's right.
And lie after lie after lie. Maybe I should stop trusting him. Instead, it's, well, people said that about him then, but no one's talking about it now. So it must have been fake.
Yeah,
it must have been a hoax.
That is weird that, like in the past, Trump will just basically create other scandals or have all this stuff around him. But it isn't like, at least for his base. Look at all these horrible things that he's doing and has been accused of. He's a convicted felon, 34 crimes.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, no, he's an adjudicated rapist. Let's not forget.
Rapist. And yet that's just one of the things that is part of his his character pack. And it's not all in one bag.
It's all proof of the extreme conspiracy against him, Chris.
Oh, that's right.
Everything that every scandal that he does, right, that he commits, right, that turns into a huge thing. The blowback against that scandal is itself taken as evidence by his base of the depth of the depravity of his opposition. How much do they hate him? How completely insane are they? How totally consumed with Trump derangement system that they, adjudicated him as having committed rape, that they convict him of having committed felonies.
It's because all of New York has Trump derangement syndrome.
Well, exactly. And including the people on the jury who only got their news from Fox News.
That's right. That's right. So, I mean, so the fact that we're still talking about this means that there is now a huge problem for MAGA. And it's for the MAGA movement. First off, Donald Trump is the leader of the MAGA movement, and there isn't another one, right?
Yeah.
So if he goes down, there's no one else to steer the ship. It becomes a rudderless disaster. And I've heard some. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. You were about to say.
No, and I've heard somebody say that, if 1 in 20 people stay home at the next 2 elections, that's it for MAGA, right?
Yeah.
And see, MAGA isn't a deep movement. It's just it's an authoritarian movement. Authoritarians need a leader, and there's no one underneath the leader. Because if there was somebody underneath the leader, then the leader has to get rid of that person.
Well, exactly, because then that person is a threat to the leader. And this is what. And okay, I'm going to commit the cardinal sin of looking at, fascist movements and fascist governments and trying to draw some, not total, but some parallels with the MAGA movement. So if you're familiar with sort of the structure of the Nazi state, basically in the 1930s Germany, right? One of the interesting things about it was precisely that while Hitler did theoretically have a successor, a second in command, right? And I think that was Goering. It was also a situation in which any real power was constantly broken up into competing power centers, so that, you didn't just have the security service, right? You had the Sicherheitsdienst, which was being run by, what was his name? The blonde beast, the man without a heart. No, not Goebbels. Goebbels was the head of propaganda. Himmler was the head of the SS, which had its own thing going on. No, this was he was the one assassinated in Prague by
Himmler.
No, Himmler wasn't assassinated.
Sorry.
He gets executed at the end of the regime. Yeah, I'm really sorry about this. There's a fantastic novel called HHH.
How about Reinhard Heydrich?
Heydrich, that's the man.
There we go.
Yeah, so there's a very famous book by a French author called HHHH, which stands for Heydrich's or Himmler's Hirn heißt Heydrich, which means Himmler's brain is called Heydrich, and it's sort of all about this horrible man, one of the architects of the Holocaust, who was assassinated in Prague. It's a very, very cool story about some very dark things. But anyway, so Heydrich runs the Sicherheitsdienst, the SD. You've got Himmler running the SS. You've got the Abwehr, which is the German military intelligence service. And all of these different organizations are competing against each other for funding. They're competing against each other for the Führer's approval. The idea is that you can't centralize all of intelligence in just one man, because that man becomes, well, powerful. And then you have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And so the Nazi regime was very careful about making sure that there was no real alternative locus of power to the Führer. He was the only guy there, right? And you see similar things happening with other fascist regimes as well. I would argue.
Oh, go ahead. Well, I'm sorry. Just to just to support that. I mean, you have like a Mussolini who eliminated the courts. He eliminated the concept of courts, just like the Nazis did, and you had to pledge effectively allegiance to the leader.
Absolutely, right?
Because the courts are another function of the state, which could override you. So why would you let them happen in an authoritarian society?
Well, exactly. And a similar thing, interestingly enough, happened with Franco's Spain. With Franco, he's the head of effectively a military dictatorship. And yet he claims to be a monarchist. And there is someone who could serve as king of Spain. But while that person is, a prince and all that kind of thing, Franco has no interest in giving up power. So what Franco has to do is to say, well, he's not going to be king. He's the crown prince, and he'll continue to be the crown prince. And I will act in his stead, and I will educate him to make sure that he acts appropriately. But then just stays in power until he dies, basically. Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of a thing that we see with authoritarian governments, fascist governments, some communist governments as well, where power is highly diffused, centralized at the top, but centralized at the top because the lower echelons, the middle echelons, and the higher echelons are so deeply divided against themselves.
That's right.
The phrase for this is working towards the Führer.
We've used it several times as well on this podcast.
Indeed. And I think we see something similar with the MAGA movements. You have Trump at the top, and he is the decider. He is the guy in charge.
Yeah.
And the way to make sure he is the guy in charge is to make sure that there is no obvious successor to him.
That's right.
That there is no other locus of power. So you're right, Chris. If he were to step back, if he were to, pass away, if he were to, I don't know, go to prison.
I've got an even easier one. If he just stops being as popular.
Now that's a real danger for him, isn't it?
Popularity is everything.
Yeah, because if he's not popular and you are an elected Republican, and there is, let's presume for the moment, there's going to be a free and fair election next November, then you could lose your job. You could lose your seat. And you could find yourself basically having supported an unpopular movement with an unpopular leader. And if people start becoming convinced that, Donald Trump is in the Epstein files and that's why he's not releasing them, then all of a sudden the people who've been supporting him this whole time, well, have they been supporting a pedophile?
And I think we need to talk about coattails. And we talk about politics. So coattails is an American term. I don't think you have it. I don't think it's over here in the UK. But it effectively is, old school coats. Fancy people have tails in their coats, and like think of morning suits or think about old school top hats and stuff. Right?
Exactly. Right. The little flanges of fabric that go down past your butt.
If you don't know what a coattail is, put it in the description below. But a coattail basically is a phrase in American politics meaning that you yourself, you can't get in office. You yourself are, regular candidate X, and you're working and you're standing for party X, right? But you're standing for party X in a presidential year.
Yeah.
So people might not know who you are, but they'll know who the leader of the X party is, right? So if it's the Republicans, they know that Trump is leader. If it's the Democrats, whoever is going to emerge as the top Democrat for whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
If the person at the very top is very popular, very, magnetic, he'll get your vote out and he will pull you into office, or she will pull you into office off the gravity of their popularity.
Exactly. Because the people who want to vote for that candidate for president, they're more likely to show up. And when they show up and they vote, they're more likely to say, well, who am I going to vote for Congress or for the Senate? Probably the same party as the person I'm voting for president, right? Because, they've said that they're cool and I'm going to follow their lead, right? Yeah, if I don't know any better.
Yeah, if you don't know anybody, if you're going in there and you're just going down the line saying, okay, I like this guy and let's get some guys in there with that person.
Yeah.
And this idea is very big in America because as soon as your coattails seem pretty short or you lose that gravitational pull to get a lot of people in with you, all your power to command with influence goes away, and that's all the president has. So we need to remind people that in the American system, the president doesn't have any direct power in Congress. The vice president has more power in Congress than the president.
That is absolutely true.
So the president, all they can really do is say, "I want this done at this time, or else I will start doing things outside of Congress to influence you," which is how you got the horrible bill, the big horrible bill passed on a certain amount of time without people reading it properly. So if Trump loses his popularity, and so many people have copied his demeanor, copied his policy, you got people in Iowa being like, "We got to get rid of the immigrants." I'm like, this is Iowa, right? It's like, I'm sure there's some immigrants in Iowa, but the only immigrants that I know in Iowa, honestly, are Vietnamese immigrants from when America invited them to come over. So,
I mean, to be fair, Iowa's a highly agricultural state.
It is,
and so you do get a lot of agricultural workers, a lot of whom are immigrants, a lot of whom from Mexico. And I will say this, having spent a summer in Iowa in 2004, registering people to vote. There's not enough Mexican immigrants there because the Mexican food I had in Iowa was dire.
Well, duh.
Yeah.
It's 2004 in Iowa.
Oh, man, they needed way more Mexican immigrants. I don't know what they were doing there, but just for food purposes alone.
Have yourself a vagina. Get yourself a quesadilla.
Oh, my goodness.
But the whole point we're trying to make here is that the entirety of the MAGA movement isn't based off of this person over here is doing pretty good, this person's over here doing pretty good. If you think about a Republican politician today, they're all singing from the same hymn sheet, and they all kind of sound like Donald Trump. They're all talking about the exact same thing, and it all relies on the God Emperor sitting on the Astronomicon, sending out the beacon through the warp.
Yeah,
you understand that? You understand that reference?
That's just for the British and for the nerds. I.e. the people who are most likely to be listening to this podcast.
So yeah, that beacon is going through there, and if that beacon flickers, well, they won't know how to fix themselves.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, because everything centers around him. He really has remade the Republican Party. He has purged it of the elements that have refused to become loyal to him. So everyone who has power now is either someone who has bent the knee, like Marco Rubio, sold his soul and decided to just, do whatever the God Emperor commands because, he has nothing behind the eyes. Or there are people like Marjorie Taylor Greene who, believe in Jewish space lasers, controlling the weather, and that's why Texas had a flood.
That's right.
Loons.
Yeah, so the party is filled with people who are just 20 years ago would have been drop kicked out, next to Pat Buchanan, and I just listened to watched the Mehdi Hassan versus 20 far right Republicans, which turned out to be mostly, I think it was 17 fascists and 3 not fascists.
Oh wow!
And they were like, one of the heroes of the party is Pat Buchanan. Now, if you're as old as Patrick and I are, right, and we're in our 40s, to have somebody say that Pat Buchanan is a hero of the Republican Party is that was their greatest fear.
Yeah,
that was their greatest fear in the 90s, that this guy was going to get any traction.
Yeah. Well, let's take a quick flashback to 1992. So this is George H.W. Bush is running for re-election. This is after 12 years of straight Republican rule at the presidential level. And the economy has not been great. The war in Iraq went like gangbusters. It was really one of the great military victories of war history, actually. It was a big deal, and it was very, very popular at the time. He had 90% approval ratings when Operation Desert Storm kicked off and succeeded. But by the time you're getting close to the election, his popularity is down at the 40s. Things are not looking well, and most of it is because the economy is just not doing that great. Pat Buchanan runs in the Republican primaries and runs strongly, and he gets, I think he wins Iowa. I think he is able to get enough support so that when they convince him to drop out, he only does it on one condition. And that was that he get a primetime speaking slot at the Republican National Convention. And then he proceeds to deliver what we would recognize today as an alt-right manifesto. As the then Democratic governor of Texas, Ann Richards, put it, it probably sounded better in the original German.
Ann Richards said that.
Yeah, she sure did. Ann Richards was great. She's a very funny lady. Did a really good job as a guest star on King of the Hill.
She did.
Interestingly enough, they did Bill Dauterive. So there you go.
Huh.
Yeah, it's a good episode.
Hang on. In 1992, he came in second in New Hampshire. Okay. Hang on. Mm-hmm. In New Hampshire, and in 1996 again. Nope, can't see anything yet. So yeah. So was that the?
I may have had the Iowa thing wrong, but he. The point is that he does well enough that to get him to drop out, they have to offer him this speaking slot at the RNC. And yeah, it really does like sort of project this unhinged, very far right, fascist adjacent, let's say, vision of America that the moderate Republicans of the time just absolutely abhorred. Saw as being like, this is the crazies. This is like the John Birch Society reborn. And we need to keep them on side and we need to keep them voting, but we cannot let them run things.
Yeah, that's right.
And Donald Trump winning was the first time I think that branch of the party became ascended. And now it has totally taken over the party. Like there just is no moderate Republican wing left at this point.
Yeah, and they've been totally purged. That's the moderate Republicans, and what's left though is a disorganized authoritarian base. I say disorganized as in there's not like a proper serious leadership structure, right? J.D. Vance is not Donald Trump 2.0, right? He runs, he loses, right? You're going to have chaos if Trump gets out off his pedestal. So again, bringing us back, and we'll continue with the politics of this. Trump has been trying to distract us because the other topic from the 2 weeks is also the distraction. The administration has come out with things like Obama committed treason and that the Washington Commanders will not get their new stadium unless they go back to the original name of the Washington Redskins.
Which it's probably worth mentioning that's a confession of abuse of power. Like that's an impeachable offense right there, because what you're doing is saying, I am not using the power vested in me by the American people for the benefit of the American people, but rather I am going to abuse that power for my own petty personal benefit. That is just not a thing that is cognizable according to like the Administration of Justice Act. It's not cognizable by like the courts. It's about as clear an example of someone just, being like, I'm king and I will do what I want. Thank you very much.
And here's the problem, though. None of it's working. None of it. Like, people are not talking about this Redskins thing. People are not talking about how Obama is a traitor.
It's kind of interesting how when they really need to get the base back on side, what do they go for? Well, they go for racism.
They go for racism. They go like Washington. They give their American heritage. The Commanders changed their name a couple of years ago, and the Redskins had changed their name before that. So it had nothing to do with that. This Obama treason thing, I barely read it. Nobody cares, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And this is the problem. This is why I'm bringing this up, because nobody is caring about the dead cats they're throwing everywhere, and they're trying to find all the different kinds of dead cats, and they're just none of them are sticking to the wall. None of them are getting our attention. Everyone is laser focused on the one thing that they've been promised for the past 10 years. And Donald Trump has the key to it, and he's basically told them to fuck off.
Now, this is where I'd like to start talking just a little bit about some of the incredible, let's call them missteps, that the Trump administration and Donald Trump himself have been making with this scandal. And I think, you're absolutely right to point out that one of the reasons why this has gone on so long is precisely that his base doesn't want to let it go. They actually have a vested interest here. They have built a lot of their identity as a movement around, uncovering the secret network of pedophiles, right? That was what QAnon was all about. And here you actually have a pedophile with $1 billion, more or less, who is incredibly connected and had an entire operation dedicated to providing children for him to rape. And there is some reason to think that he was not the only person doing this. It wasn't just him and Ghislaine Maxwell. That, and certainly there have been accusations by some of the victims that others were involved. Alan Dershowitz, the famous lawyer, who was Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer, has been accused of receiving, getting, underage girls to massage him in his underwear. There are absolutely claims about this kind of stuff. So it would be very, very strange to claim that there's just no evidence of anyone else being involved. There is evidence of other people being involved. That's all public record.
Yeah, that's already out. That's already out.
Maybe the victims are all just somehow lying about that. But
could be, sure. Could be.
I'm not going to just assume that they're lying without gathering further evidence, without seeing, some arguments, without seeing it tested. This is a weird thing to say, that there's just no there there, because there clearly is.
And that's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were saying,
well, as far as the missteps go, right?
Missteps, yeah.
Yeah. The claim that there's absolutely nothing there, that doesn't pass the smell test. Nobody believes this. It's immediately non-credible. Now, at that point, what Donald Trump could have done is fire Pam Bondi.
Yeah. I'm surprised he didn't.
Right. Exactly. Well, that's the thing, right? But to do that, you'd have to fire Pam Bondi and then actually release a ton of stuff. You'd have to release a lot of information. And that's going to be problematic. There are real reasons why you don't just release everything. The rights of the victims to their anonymity is absolutely sacrosanct. You cannot release a lot of this stuff without getting their permission. And of course, you don't just want to release a bunch of, allegations without credible backing, because, people's lives can absolutely be destroyed by flimsily sourced allegations. And, it's important to be fair to everybody in this process. Even the guilty have rights in our constitutional system.
Yeah.
That said, Donald Trump has done nothing of that sort.
No.
And in fact, when Pam Bondi was asked about it at a cabinet meeting by members of the press, Donald Trump intervened and answered for her and said, why are we still talking about this? This guy's been dead for years. We can't be talking about this. Shut up.
Yeah, he jumped in.
Right? And then he starts telling people, what's up with my boys and my gals, in some cases.
The truth social tweets. Truth. Terrible.
Right? Claiming that he doesn't even want the support of people who do this because those Epstein files are all fake and had been made by Biden and Obama and Hillary, which immediately destroyed the MAGA world idea that, well, there's nothing there, right?
Right.
The claim that there is no file cannot be true. And also, there is a file and it was totally created by Biden and Hillary and Obama.
Which they did not release
right.
while he was running for president.
Right. So they made it up. And they're so devious, they would make it up, but then they wouldn't release it because, hang on, I'll come in again.
Let me get that line again. Let me get the line again. Everybody's safely back to one. It was the lizard people.
This is the thing. Immediately coming out with this stuff that is not credible, is not coherent, doesn't fit with anything that came before. It looks desperate, and that raises a terrible question. Why is he so desperate and afraid of this?
Yeah.
What could possibly make him so unwilling to just release what he has? What could make him act in this way? Because it's inexplicable.
It is inexplicable, and he's flailing, and you rarely see Donald Trump like this, but because you're getting two giant like meteorological forces like two hurricanes coming towards each other. You have Donald Trump flailing, and you have the MAGA base who demand answers.
Yep.
And then you and in that you also have people who probably have information that they've been holding on to. For example, and this is going to be one of the last things we talk about.
Oh yes.
The Wall Street Journal put out a story a couple days ago.
That's right.
With saying that Donald Trump sent Epstein a birthday letter in the shape, and he drew out the shape of a woman with crudely drawn breasts
with boobies.
Yep. Boobies. And Donald Trump's signature as her merkin. I'll call it that, her merkin.
Yeah. Oh, that's very kind of you, Chris. Thank you.
And Donald and the Wall Street Journal, which is no bastion of liberalism, it puts this out and says, a bunch of people contributed to this 50th birthday book. It was all organized by Ghislaine Maxwell. Dershowitz is apparently in the book as well, and some other people that I haven't heard of. The response from Dershowitz was, I don't remember what I wrote. I knew him back then, whatever. The response from Trump was that I don't draw pictures, right? I don't draw pictures. Therefore, that's not the police coming for me. If you could hear it, by the way.
Yep. I don't even write pictures.
I don't write pictures. And then what happened? Do you know what happened after that?
Well, I think if I remember correctly, the entire internet responded with pictures of his doodles that he very famously draws and then auctions off for charity. For years.
And in the exact same style that was described in the in the message.
Black marker.
In thick black marker.
I mean, so like the idea.
Oh, and he's suing the Wall Street Journal now for $10 billion.
And if you can't see this, but I am putting my pinky to the side of my mouth, a la Dr. Evil, because that is as absurd as anything in Austin Powers. Like $10 billion for defamation is just the biggest defamation award in the history of law. Was $1 billion against Alex Jones for being Alex Jones. Exactly. Yeah. So this is funny. You want what's even more funny about that suit that Donald Trump just filed?
What's that?
My understanding of it is that he is acting pro se, Chris.
Oh, you got to explain what that means.
Yeah, but that is a legal term for oneself. And what that means is that he's his own lawyer.
No.
Yeah. So now there is a very famous phrase. Man who acts as his own lawyer has a fool for a client.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see that absolutely backed up here. Like what the implication of that, though, is so stunning because what it means, Chris, is this. He couldn't get a lawyer to sign off on it. And do you want to know why a lawyer might refuse to sign off on such a thing?
We can speculate.
Well, I mean, there's only a few reasons why a lawyer would not sign on to a court filing. Because if you sign on to a court filing, you get paid, right?
Right.
Like that's one of the things you get paid for as a lawyer. So why do you not like money? Who doesn't like money? We're talking about lawyers here.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. So why would a lawyer refuse to represent Donald Trump in this matter? Well, the thing is, if you're a lawyer, you have a duty to the court. You cannot mislead the court, and you can't waste the court's time.
That's right.
And Donald Trump's lawyers have gotten into a hell of a lot of trouble over the last few years for doing precisely that.
Yeah.
They have been sanctioned. They have faced the possibility.
Disbarred.
Oh, yes. They have faced the possibility of getting disbarred.
No,
in fact, Giuliani got disbarred. You're right. So if you're Alina Habba or some other lawyer who, for God knows what reason, thinks that Donald Trump is not going to be the end of your legal career, and you've been working with this guy, and then he comes to you and is like, I want to sue Dow Jones and the Wall Street Journal and Merkel. I'm going to sue him for $10 billion because they published a story when I told them not to.
Yeah.
Then you're, as a lawyer, it doesn't matter how bad of a lawyer you are, you're going to say, no. I cannot sign that because I like being able to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You walk a full country mile away from that.
And what's so amazing about this is that he admitted in a truth that he had called Rupert Murdoch and told him not to publish it. And he published it anyway, which means that he was engaged in censorship of the press. This is a much graver violation of the First Amendment than anything that MAGA has ever even accused Joe Biden of doing. Yeah. Like this goes so far beyond like the worst conspiracy theories that MAGA has put forward.
And he admitted it.
Oh yeah.
So it's out there in the real world. And it's just like, I'm the president of the United States and I'm abusing my power to control the outcome of a newspaper story.
Yeah. And do you want to know what the Wall Street Journal had to say about this suit?
What did they have to say?
We feel that our reporting is very solid and we will defend ourselves vigorously in court, which means, oh no, we have receipts.
Oh, they clearly have receipts.
And
it's the Wall Street Journal.
It's the Wall Street fucking Journal. Come the hell on, guys.
This isn't the Daily Star. This isn't the National Enquirer. This is the Wall Street fucking Journal. And
this is right. So this is the thing that Rupert Murdoch has officially decided to stab Donald Trump right in the kisser. And the only explanation here is that A, they have every last one of the goods.
Yeah.
And B, they think Trump is weak.
Yeah, well, that's just it. I think there's a final point in the politics of this is that the fact that the story came out in a paper that's owned by Rupert Murdoch, who also owns Fox News, I think, for now. I think he may be giving it to like his daughter or something.
No.
Oh, is his son?
I think he gives a Lachlan.
Lachlan. Yeah. So he gives it to his son. But the point is that Rupert Murdoch is the king of the empire that effectively put Trump and MAGA in place. And he has allowed this story to go out.
Yep.
Which means they're not afraid of the $10 billion lawsuit. And the fact that basically they understand this must be what they understand, that the inability to produce the Epstein list, either you don't want to or doesn't exist, means that that white slimy core of MAGA, right?
Yep.
That's the nucleus holding them together. If that disappears, then all of a sudden the financial power of MAGA, all of it just starts melting away.
This is as close to an existential crisis as we have ever seen Donald Trump suffer. And I would like at this point, because our readers, we've been talking about the letter, but I just want to read it out to you. It's very short. I just want to read out to you what it is.
The Naked Lady letter?
The Naked Lady letter. It's time to read from the poetical stylings of one Donald John Trump. It's written as a dialogue, by the way.
Oh, it is a dialogue, yes.
Exactly. Voiceover. There must be more to life than having everything. Donald. Yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is. Jeffrey. Nor will I, since I also know what it is. Donald. We have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Jeffrey. Yes, we do, come to think of it. Donald. Enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? Jeffrey. As a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you. Trump. A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday. And may every day be another wonderful secret.
So
that's just all really above board and not at all a reference to the raping of children.
Nothing to see here.
Yeah, move along, people.
Punch was served. Yeah. So obviously the story isn't going away, and we've gone on a little bit longer than I wish, but we haven't been around for a bit. So we'll keep talking about it as long as it's still important news. Parliament's going on recess starting from tomorrow evening, so there won't be that much to talk about for the UK. The UK does literally go on holiday politically in August. So
so does the entirety of Europe, Chris. And I think it's a civilized thing to do.
It is, except for the prices. That I hate how the prices shoot up after tomorrow. But we will keep on trying to do this as regularly as possible. And as always, I'm Dr. Silverstein.
I'm Dr. Armshaw.
And we are doctors.
Not doctors.
Good night.